Welcome everyone, Costin here on Serious Gaming with the guide on how to produce high quality content for YouTube and how to become a YouTube partner. What you need to do, what steps are required, what kind of software you need to use, what kind of hardware you need to get, and so on and so forth in order to become a successful YouTube content producer. Now, when it comes to recording program, because this is the first thing you're going to have to deal with after making a YouTube account, after removing the time limit of 15 minutes on YouTube videos, which does require the registration of a phone. Once you do that, you will need to look at recording programs. Now, I've looked at a number of recording programs. I've looked at free programs like FFSplit, Open Broadcaster software, and so on. I've looked at programs that do require you to pay either a subscription like XSplit or a one-time fee like Bandicam, Fraps, DxStory. I've tested them all out, and my conclusion is that there are two very good recording programs, and these are Open Broadcaster software, which has a lot of options. It's a completely free program, doesn't require any penny. It's an open source program. And the other one being NVIDIA Shadowplay. Now, Shadowplay has less options, but has significantly less smaller performance hit than OBS, and produces high quality videos that are just as good as the one you can get with OBS. Now, OBS is primarily a streaming program. It's designed to work on Twitch, but with certain options, with local recording settings, you can get some very high quality 1080p videos at a good frame rate with a small performance loss. Now, I have a high-end PC. I have an i7 3770K Ivy Bridge processor, a GTX 780, 8 GB of DDR3. That's my computer, and I have an SSD as well as a regular hard drive. I record many of these videos to SSDs, to one of my SSDs, because the file size is so low that I can afford to do it, and SSDs run better than regular hard drives. Most YouTube content producers use a regular hard drive. You can do that as well. Personally, I'm not too fond of them. There's a bunch of things I'm going to cover, audio quality and all that later. What kind of microphone you want, what you should be looking in with regards to that. Now, with OBS, which I have open here on my desktop, and with Shadowplay, which I'm just going to open here in GeForce Experience, you do need a high-end or a 600 or later series NVIDIA GTX card to be able to use NVIDIA Shadowplay. You have to configure them in a certain way to make the most out of them. Now, Shadowplay is a lot easier to configure. You just go to Preferences, Shadowplay, and you can set keybinds, save file location, very easy to do, keybinds. You don't want to care about shadow recording or pause resume broadcasting, doesn't really matter. What you want to look at is manual recording, broadcasting on and off, camera, if you're interested in that, though I will not cover how to get the camera working properly because I don't care about that and I don't think it's important. But you can toggle camera on and off while recording, and you also have the position of the camera if you want to be another twat who uses a camera in a video, because that's what a lot of streamers do, and I'm not fond of it at all. Or you can toggle microphone on and off. Now, these free manual recording, broadcasting, and microphone are pretty important. I use the numpad keys 1, 2, 3, and they have served me well. You can use, although actually my side mouse buttons don't seem to work with this. I never tried it, so these don't seem to work with that. You can set it to whatever you want on your keyboard, however, and it will work pretty well. You also have the option of allowing desktop capture. It's something they added very recently. It doesn't work very well for the moment, but you can use desktop capture if the game you're trying to record footage from does not work with NVIDIA Shadowplay. You can use this option. Same goes with OBS. If the game doesn't work with game capture in OBS, then you can use a monitor capture if you set the game to windowed mode. Now, both these programs are free, as I said, so feel free to just download them and test them out yourselves. Now, when it comes to shadow play, what you really want to look at in terms of options is this. You can enable shadow and manual shadow, manual or Twitch. These are your options. Now, when it comes to manual, you don't want to use the presets. You want to set it to custom, set the frame rate to 30, and then either select 720p or 1080p in terms of resolution. When it comes to resolution, what you want to do is to record the videos at the same resolution you're playing your games on. So if you're playing games in 1080p, you want 1080p videos. If you're playing games in 720p, then record at 720p. If you have a computer that's not capable of recording video footage at 1080p because of file size or performance, then play the game at 720p and record 720p footage. You don't want to play a game at 1080p and then record in 720 because it will cause a number of video quality issues, performance issues, and so on and so forth. You can do it, it's an option, but I would not recommend it. In terms of bitrate, you have from anywhere from 10 to 50. Now, YouTube recommends a bitrate of 8 megabytes per second. These are megabytes per second, by the way. YouTube recommends bitrate of 8 megabytes per second at least for 1080p videos, or if you want very high quality videos, 50 megabytes per second. Here's the thing though with YouTube videos. YouTube doesn't use 50 megabytes per second. I've recorded a lot of videos that I've uploaded with 50 megabytes per second on this channel, and they run at 8 megabytes or 16 megabytes at most per second when I've uploaded them, because YouTube does process every video that you upload to it. They are switching to better codecs. The videos will run better with the newer codecs that they're going to use. They're switching to their own codec. They've developed their own codec, the VP9. Google has developed its own codec, the VP9 codec. But for now, they're still using the H.264 video codec for most videos that are on the site. And the H.264 codec has a number of issues in regards to that. VP9 will run much better, but until it's widely adopted, you're going to be stuck using H.264. So videos will look better on your PC than they do on YouTube. That's what I'm driving at here. In terms of bitrate, if you want very high quality videos, what you want is higher than 30. Now, if you're concerned about file size, then lower it. It doesn't really impact performance, except in a very insignificant way. But it mostly impacts is the file size of the videos. Now, I have upload speed of 6 megabytes per second, and I live in Romania, so I'm quite far away from any YouTube upload server, so it takes me longer than other people. My internet speed is good, my internet connection is good, and the file sizes are low enough that even with 50 megabytes per second, they're low enough that I can upload them at a reasonable rate. If you're not satisfied with it, lower it. I recommend 30 to 40. I've set this to 35 here, and that's what I'm going to use for the videos that I'm going to upload on the channel for the foreseeable future. Okay, it's worth keeping in mind that Shadowplay uses their own version, their own specific codec encoding process. They do give MP4 files. Audio, and this is kind of disappointing with Shadowplay, you don't have audio options. You can record in-game, and microphone. You'll have to tweak sound options quite a bit to get good quality. I've run into a lot of complaints myself where people say, oh, I can barely hear you because of the game sound. So, just keep that in mind. Lower it, do some testing with every game that you're going to cover, with every, when you cover a new game, just do some testing when it comes to sound volume in that game, as opposed to your microphone volume, and lower or increase depending on the situation. That's my recommendation. I hope that they do add volume options, volume sliders for, in-game sound and microphone sound, but for now, this is what we have to work with. When it comes to Twitch, Shadowplay is very easy to use. You just need to get your Twitch username, password, put that information here, and then you are set to stream. Now, when it comes to Twitch streaming, again, custom quality, frame rate 30, you are limited to 720 with Shadowplay. You can't you can't stream at 1080. Although there are people who actually do stream at 1080, most don't, they most probably do at 720. It's kind of disappointing though. I would have preferred to have a 1080p option. And you have bitrate of 1 to 10. No, actually 1 to, what is it, 6? Yes, a 1 to 6 bitrate. I personally use 2 with my current internet connection, although I probably could go with 3. I don't stream, so yeah. Though if you want to stream, these are the options you have to deal with. Very easy to set this one up, but the lack of options kind of lets it down, in my opinion. If you want something with more customization, something that would that you'll be able to use more effectively in some ways, then you look at OBS. Now, OBS, first off, let's go at source. Now, video capture. This is something I don't use, and it's something I don't think is really useful. Video capture you can use with the Xstory, which I have installed right here. You can set it here to take footage from the Xstory. This does mean you will have to use the Xstory, and the Xstory has a pretty significant performance hit as opposed to OBS or Shadowplay on their own, so I don't recommend it. All these options don't really matter. Now, video capture device, I would primarily use it if you're recording console footage. Now, I'm making these guys with the intent of recording PC footage. If you want to record footage off consoles, you need to buy a video capture device, hook that into your console, hook it into your PC as well, and then use the video capture device option. And then you also select audio input device, set that to your console speakers, and from then on you just record normally. When it comes to gamma, I've set it to 0.9 as opposed to 1 because I find videos in MP4 format to be slightly brighter than what I see in games, so I've lowered it by 0.10 points, and that should give you the same brightness that you will get in game. Game capture. Now, with game capture, this is something you have to set every time you start the game. It will remember if you have just been playing that game and you haven't switched it to something else. So say for instance, I've been playing a lot of War Game Maryland Battle over the last couple of days, recorded a lot of footage, set it to record footage from that game. It will remember that every time I start the program. If you want to cover something else, you will have to switch it every single time. You want to enable capture mouse cursor or not, depending on what you want to do. And you want to set gamma to 0.9. You can also set a hotkey option. This doesn't work very well, in my opinion. Then the final option is monitor capture. Now, this you can set to whatever monitor you want, and if you run games in windowed mode, it will capture footage from those games. This is the option you want to use either when you have problems with certain games that just don't run, or when you have problems with things like sweet effects. I use sweet effects I used it for Mass Effect 3, I used it for Total War Rome 2. It doesn't run, in some cases for certain games, it doesn't run with the default game capture. Rome 2 doesn't run with the default game capture, so I use windowed mode. I will use windowed mode for Hannibal at the Gates with monitor capture here. I don't know what point filtering does, to be honest. Maybe I should enable that. I don't know what it does anyway. That's it when it comes to game to sources. You can add multiple scenes. You can add sources. You can say add an image, like if you want a banner to the side of, on the bottom right or bottom left corner or upper right, upper left, or if you want an image when you're streaming, for instance, if you want an image before you actually start streaming, then you can switch to whatever source. You can add keybinds here to whatever you want, to whatever source. You can add keybinds so that you can switch between sources very easily. I don't need that myself, but you can add these keybinds, I believe, to switch from sources very easily. If I recall correctly. Let's see. Where is the global sources? Nope. And probably there's, what the hell? Settings, configuration folder. I don't seem There doesn't appear to be a keybind option. Oh, I was thinking of XSplit, where you do actually have a keybind option for an individual scene. So in that sense, perhaps XSplit is better for streaming than this, but XSplit does cost money. Anyway, when it comes to settings, language, English, whatever, cursor over projector, okay, can log, whatever. When it comes to encoding, you have three options: X264, QuickSync, and NVIDIA NVNC. Now, this codec is actually used with Shadowplay, although OBS with this codec, with this encoder, runs worse than Shadowplay does, which is kind of disappointing. And well, it's just better to use Shadowplay if you're going to use this codec. It doesn't run with the latest NVIDIA drivers, the beta drivers, the 337.50 drivers that NVIDIA has out right now. I guess it will be fixed when they release the regular drivers, when they get out of beta with those drivers, or when there's an update release for OBS. Between X264, QuickSync, and NVEC, I would say QuickSync and NVNC run a lot better than X264. Supposedly, X264 has more options and better quality as a result of having those more options. You can configure it to get better quality, but the performance loss is huge. And I can barely notice any differences in quality between QuickSync and NVNC. Now, when it comes to max bitrate, 30,000 to 40,000, that's what you should be aiming at. You can go as low as, say, 20,000 without really. You can actually go as low as 16,000 without noticing without any difference between, say, high quality footage and lower quality footage when you will actually upload that video to YouTube. Because YouTube videos run at about 16 megabytes per second, so you can upload at 16 megabytes per second and get the highest quality that you will be able to get on YouTube at the moment. But as YouTube rolls out new codecs and starts using better players and so on and so forth, you will see better quality videos on YouTube. But still, we don't know at the moment. Anyway, how that will really work out. So my suggestion is just go for higher bit rates, 30,000 to 40,000. You want to use CBR, you can disable this, and if you're using X264 or NVNC, you can set quality balance between 0 and 10. Now, now CBR stands for constant bitrate, so your bitrate throughout the video will remain constant of what you set it to. If you set VBR, the program will only use what it needs to. Now, this might cause a performance loss, but you might get lower file sizes as a result. Personally, I recommend CBR. Max bitrate, 30,000 to 40,000. Buffer size, set this to 0. The program will use as much as it needs. You can set this to some custom amount. Personally, I recommend 0, and a lot of people do recommend 0. Use custom buffer size, set it to 0. Enable CBR padding. I don't really know what it does, but most people recommend you turn it on. I don't really know. And it's set by default to on. Now, when it comes to broadcast settings, you can set it to stream or you can set it to file output. This key you can get on Twitch, and then just put it here, auto reconnect, and you can select the upload server, which you can't do with Shadowplay at the moment. So in that sense, it has an advantage over Shadowplay. Right. Let's set it to file output. Okay. Set it. Put a name here. And what I did was I recorded the video that really contains nothing, a video just of a few kilobytes, and then after that I get videos with 01, 02, 03, 04. So that's a good way of getting, of ordering my videos on my hard drive. That would be my recommendation for people who are looking at this guide. Start stream hotkey, stop stream hotkey, okay. When it comes to video, you've got resolution, and then you've got resolution downscale. You will lose quality, or you will lose in terms of performance if you use this. Now, say for instance, I go to 720p. You have free filters when you downscale. Some are better than others, obviously, but you do lose, regardless of the one you use, you do lose in quality. or if you use the highest quality one, you do lose in performance and in quality as well a bit, though not by much. Frame rate, FPS, I use 40 because I've run into problems when using 30 in this program. I wouldn't recommend any higher. 60 makes the video run too fast as opposed to how your game is running, but 40 or 35 is probably the ideal frame rate you want for this program. When it comes to audio, you have default. You can set to whatever speaker you want. You've also got audio device, your microphone. I have a Samsung CO3U. It shows only connected device. You can use push to talk, which is another area where Shadowplay falls behind, because Shadowplay does not have push to talk. Although I personally use the mute, unmute hotkey for my microphone as opposed to using push to talk. I've run into issues with push to talk in some of my videos. That's what, so I recommend you use this. Now I don't use microphone boost. Instead, what I do is set the microphone volume in my control panel right here. Sound. This is my microphone, and set it. With my microphone, I set it between 80 to 90. If I go over 90, it gets very, very loud. So I generally try and keep it like that. Depends on your microphone. You might need to use it. This is something you will have to test on your own to determine how loud you sound. Do test recordings, especially with the game running in the back, and see how loud your microphone is. Also compared to how loud the game is as well. Right, let's go to advanced. Process priority class set at normal. Buffering time milliseconds 400. Okay. Allow other modifiers on hotkeys if you want. Oh wait, I forgot about something here. And when it comes to quick sync, because this is the one I would recommend most at the moment. When it comes to quick sync, use quick sync preset 1 best quality. Now on my CPU, it runs really well. If it runs worse on yours, you can set it to balanced, or you can set it to 7, though you'll lose quality. Encoding profile high, keyframe interval 0, use CFR, and don't bother with custom quick sync encoder presets, because at the moment they don't actually support any custom quick sync encoders settings, and they're not really that useful as some people might think. No. When it comes to X264, yes, you either use ultra fast, yes, or super fast. Anything lower than that, even on a CPU like mine, is going to cause issues in terms of performance. In terms of custom X264 encoder settings, I use Kabak 0, SCFR 12. Don't ask me what they stand for, but they supposedly improve quality. That's what I've read. Anyway, normal, coding profile high, whatever. In terms of NVNC, if I go to advanced, high quality, you can set NVIDIA default, or high quality, high performance, Blu-ray disc, low latency, high performance, low latency, etc., etc. You know, if you're streaming, maybe you want low latency or whatever. And I use, again, Kabak 0, CFR 12. Okay, switching back to QuickSync because this is what I use. And audio, if you have audio issues when it comes to syncing the audio and the video, you might want to use these options. I personally don't, but you might have to. Although how useful these are, I don't really know. You've got network, whatever network you want to use, automatic low latency mode, whatever. Noise gate, I wouldn't recommend it, because noise gate supposedly stops transmitting at a certain noise level, but sometimes you're just speaking lower than another point. Sometimes, you know, you're not, you know, sometimes you're yelling, other times you're not. So I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it for a bunch of reasons. Some might use it if they want to reduce the background noise, but when it comes to that, I would just recommend you use the keybind to mute the microphone when you don't want to talk, and when you want to talk, unmute the microphone. Okay. Costin here on Serious Gaming signing out. This is the first of several videos that I'll do on the subject. This just covers the recording program. I'll do videos on audio quality and on the kind of content and how to be a good YouTube partner, how to get subscribers on YouTube, what you need to do in order to get subscribers and not, be a failed partner with just 100 subscribers or less than 1,000 subscribers or something along those lines. Also, I'll be talking about the various networks that you can join on YouTube. Until then, stay tuned for more, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video.